Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another session on Tableau by techtablet with me, Adgunisa Begum. And in today's session, we are going to learn about line graphs. What are line graphs and how are they used? So that's what we'll discuss later in the session today. But for now, let me just quickly revise what all we have learned in the previous classes. We have understood completely about Tableau, downloading Tableau, why is Tableau used, how is it important, its features, complete environment, and everything about Tableau. Now we are learning how do you create different graphs and charts which will be used by you to create presentations and dashboards. So there are several graphs and charts that we are going to learn, and we are going to understand which graph can be used where, so that when we are doing a hands-on, you can understand that we can something like where can this be used is what you are going to understand through these classes, right? So it's an attempt to give you a full Tableau course for free. So I hope you will make the most of it. The agenda of today's session is really simple. You will be learning what is a line graph. You'll try to create a line graph in Tableau. And this creating line graph in Tableau, I want you all to do it along with me. I'll be just, dictating and I'll be doing it while I am talk, telling you what to do about it. So you can create a line graph by yourself as well. So this will be a hands-on by you. And later on, using the same data sets, you can actually practice yourself as well, using different values maybe, right? My name is Abhigalisa Begum. I am a technical trainer. I give trainings on R and Python for data science and machine learning, and Tableau for data visualization. I think that's enough about me. Let's just move ahead with the session. Now, what do we have here? We have a line chart, and as we all know, this is how a line chart looks like. These are several data points that we have that will be connected to create a line chart, right? So I hope this is understood. Now let me just move ahead and define this line chart for you. Line chart is also called as a line graph, is also called as a line chart or a line plot. Usually these are used for create showing the trends over time, right? So how does a person's salary increases based on his experience? And then how does a land price increase based on its area, right? So we also have independent and dependent variables in line graphs. So in the x-axis or the horizontal axis, we have independent variables. On the vertical axis or the y-axis, we have dependent variables. So as you can see here, the person's salary increases in by the matter of time. Definitely every year this salary will be increasing, right? So on the x-axis, we always have time. How does that increase? Usually time as it's an independent variable. Time is independent. So that's how you can use a line graph. So it uses points connected by line segments from left to right to demonstrate changes in value. The horizontal axis, as I told you, it depicts continuous progression, and vertical axis, it uses it actually reports values for a metric of interest across that progression. Now, when do we use this line chart? You will use a line chart when you want to emphasize changes in values for one variable, that is on y-axis, for continuous values on the second variable, that is on x-axis. This emphasis on patterns of change is sold by line segments moving consistently from left to right and observing the slopes of the lines moving up or down. Now, when I'm talking about slope of the line, I'm sure this must have come to your mind, right? When we say slope of a line, we definitely remember this. This is called the line of best fit. And this is the, what do you say? This is how you find out the slope intercept. And that's how it goes on. So that's not what we are going to learn today, but just I am reminding you of where else can we use a line chart. We can also use a line chart to understand the regression values. how is the relationship between different variables. So there is something called as linear regression, which you would be learning in the machine learning course by Tech Tablet. So there you will have this linear regression, and you can just go to that video to understand, how this line chart is used over there. Now, on the horizontal axis, we need a variable that depicts continuous values that have a regular interval of measurement very commonly. Now, this variable is a temporal one, generating an observation every minute, hour, day, week, or even a month. The choice of interval size or bin is a decision that the analyst will usually need to make for the data, rather than it being an inherent data characteristic. Now, coming to vertical axis, this vertical axis, you will report the value of a second numeric variable for points that fall in each of the intervals defined by horizontal axis variable. Often, this will be a statistical summary like a total or average value across events within each bin. Multiple lines can also be used in this. So suppose you have three different products, product A, B, and C, and you want to see how are their sales, right? So you can have a trend line like this, and like this, right? So you can compare each of them, the sales of these products. Forget products. If you want to check, oh, that's just too far away. Let's just see. You had, so how were your sales of a particular product? You have your product A and you want to see its sales. Okay, so these are different trend lines that you can have, and you can compare them. And all of these in one single chart. That is why they are called as trend lines, and line chart helps you analyze them. A common use case for this is to observe the breakdown of data across different groups. The ability to plot multiple lines also provides the line chart to special use case where it might usually not be selected. Normally, we would use a histogram to depict the frequency distribution of a single numeric variable. However, it's sometimes tricky to plot two histograms on the same set of axes. The line chart serves as a good mode of comparison. That is why, we can have something such as a polygon. Yeah, I hope you all know what a polygon is. So we can have polygons here as in the form, as a line charts. These line charts will form polygons, and these are again called as frequency polygons. Okay, so these are also created using line graphs. There are some best practices to create these line charts that I would like to share with you. First is you have to choose an appropriate measurement interval. An important aspect here of creating a line chart is selecting the right interval or bin size for temporal data. Then don't use too many lines. Yes, you can use multiple lines in the plot, but it's better not to plot too many lines. Now, let me also show you some common misuses. Strictly being a zero value baseline. So despite the zero baseline for the vertical axis being a requirement for bar charts and histograms, you do not need to include a zero baseline for line chart. Remember that. Another mistake that you can commit is failing to identify uneven gaps between points, right? Then you might also see an interpolating curve between the points, which we do not want. So what are these interpolating curves? Usually it will be, pointed. So, but if these are not pointed, see, these are called as interpolated. These are called as a curve between the points. You cannot have interpolating curve between points. And there is something called as dual axis, which we'll learn about it later. So you use a misleading dual axis instead of a line chart. That we'll learn later on. Now, line charts, one can be trend line, the types if I'm talking about. One can be a trend line, or one can be used to show uncertainty, and the other one is called a spark line. Trend line, you know what that is. Spark line it's a special use for the line chart. A spark line is essentially a small line chart It's built to put in the line with text or alongside many values in the table. Because of its small size, it will not include any labeling. Statistics can be placed next to the spark line to indicate starting and ending values, or perhaps minimum or maximum values. The main point of spark line is to show changes over a period of time and is often seen in financial context, right? So, and there is also something called as ridge line plot that is also related to a line plot only. So, what do you do in a ridge line plot? Each line is plotted on a different axis, slightly offset from each other vertically. So yeah, in Tableau we will not be doing that mostly, but so that you know these are the different types of line charts that we have. I hope this was understood till now. Now we'll go to the most interesting part of the session. We'll go and do this in Tableau. So just if you haven't downloaded Tableau, this is the time. Just pause this video and start downloading Tableau Public and start working on it. Now, if you already have Tableau Public, just open it, click on Microsoft Excel because that is the dataset that we are using. If you want to practice the, the same code that I'm giving you. If you have this dataset, Superstore US, just open that, connect that dataset. This is how you connect it. And then you select orders from it. If you do not know how to connect this data to Tableau, there is also a video regarding this. You might just want to go back there and have a look and learn how do we do that. All right, so we have a sheet here where we'll be creating our line graph. So what do I want here in rows is I'll be taking sales and I'll put in rows. Then I'll be taking order date. I'll put in columns. I don't want aggregate measures. One more thing, I will change it to month. Now, what happened when I just chose aggregate? Aggregate means it's not aggregating. When I'm clicking on aggregate measures, it's just aggregating all of them together. And thus we can get a proper point because there are a lot of products available, right? So if there are a lot of products, it's better to aggregate the measures and then use it. But say if there are, a few of them, you don't really have to aggregate. Now, this is the reason. Now, I wanted to see how the sales have been going all these months, right? And you can see a trend line. This is a trend line, right? So let's just try to put this in a different way. Not product category. See, these are the multiple lines. You can see based on the products how they are going. So these are multiple trend lines. This one is technology, this one is furniture, and this one is office supplies. If you want to label them, you can also label them accordingly, right? So you can see how these are going, how are the sales going on. Now, if you don't want sales, you might as well just take profit and put it over there. Oh, not okay. These are the quantity ordered. I did not want to take this, but that also worked well. Let's just see profits. How were the profits? Right? You can see that there was a decline in the sales of, in the profits of technology in March, but then it definitely increased. And that's how you can see the different trend lines. And what can you interpret looking at this, right? I want you all to tell me what did you interpret looking at this. You can also change the, how do they look? You can change it to this. And this is difficult because we are being, habituated to using this and this only looks good for trend lines, right? So I want you all to give me an interpretation of this line graph. What could you understand, right? So just pause it here and just think of what you can and type in the comment section. Also, if you have any doubts, do let me know in the comment section. And if there is any feedback, that is also most welcome. Thank you very much for being with me throughout this session. Have a great day and happy learning.